Yesterday evening, I took a flight at 1:30 in the night from Delhi, landed here a few hours ago, and tomorrow morning they're packing me back on the same flight back to Delhi. That must be Swedish hospitality. The reason this trip was important for me is that I want to provoke you to think. I want to provoke you to think something which you may not have thought about, or maybe you have thought about and found it obvious, but not deeply enough to make a commitment out of it. These 17 minutes will be a thinking journey. It is not about what I say or what we did was right or wrong. It is about why should you not do it? What if some of your competition is doing it? And what impact it would have on you and your organization, and what impact it would have on the humanity. I'm very passionate about this subject. And that's the reason these 17 minutes are going to be very important, as much for me as hopefully for you. So let's begin. Imagine you are on a ledge of a building which is 3-story high. Imagine that building is on fire. You have two choices: stay or jump. The question I have to ask you is, how long will you take to decide to stay or jump? Let's add a twist to this story in saying that, assuming that you know the right answer is to jump. Assuming that you have data, analytics, advisor, whatever it is, you know the right answer is to jump. How long will you take to convert the thought to jump? 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Let's make the story a bit more complicated. Let's assume that you are standing on a ledge of a building which is 3 floors high, and your colleagues are standing with you, 10, 100, 1,000. And let's assume that you're the only one who knows the right answer is to jump. What would your colleagues do? Would they jump because you say that's the right answer? Would they stay because you say jump? Or would they stay confused? The reason of that question, the reason of asking that question is it defines organization effectiveness and ineffectiveness. It's never the idea, it's the execution. I have always wondered, Gandhi, when he landed in India, did he have the idea of how he will get independence for India? Yeah. Did he know what non-violence potentially could do? Yeah. Did he know what India wanted, which is independence? Yeah. Then why did it take so many years? Why did it take so many years to implement that idea? Why did it take so many years to tell us, to get us independence? When he landed on the Indian shores, he exactly knew what we wanted. He exactly knew how to get it. But why did it take so many years? That's the difference between success and failure. It's never the idea. It's the way the idea is implemented. So what is the idea? A disclaimer. I'm not a professor. I don't read too many books. I'm an experimenter. I'm the guy who asks a lot of questions. I was fortunately part of an experiment which worked, an experiment which led to a growth of revenues, market cap, profitability by 600% in the peak of recession. So this story is about how did it happen. In hindsight, it looks very beautiful. In foresight, it was very troublesome. So I found myself standing on a ledge of a building in 2005. HCL Technologies, an IT services company, was losing mind share, market share, talent share. Everybody in the world, including the aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandfathers, knew about it, other than the 30,000 people who were inside the company. Inside the company, we were trapped in our past. In 1962, we were number one. In 1972, we were the first in the world. We were slicing and dicing the data. I'm sure it's not happening in your company, so don't feel guilty. We were slicing and dicing the data to somehow appear number one. Now forget about the background in which I found myself in that position because the chairman asked me to come and lead the company, and I didn't want to because I was one of the startup guys. When I came, I was aghast to know that everybody was trapped in the rearview mirror. And the story goes like this, and I asked myself that when a plumber comes to fix a leak, that's the reason you hired a CEO. Do you tell him how your $20 million house looks, or what are the beautiful paintings, or how beautiful the garden is, or do you take him to the leak and tell him, here is the leakage? And for 90 days, I was told how beautiful the paintings were and how the garden was. And I said, why did you hire me? So I found myself standing on the ledge of the building where all employees, most of the employees, were very convinced that the building was not burning. So the first thing I had to do was burn the building. And that is the learning which I got from Mahatma Gandhi in terms of the man. When he landed here, everybody was telling him British Raj is good. We don't want independence. Why are you talking about these things? We are happy. So the first step he had to take is to make people unhappy. Hopefully that's what I did in the first 4 minutes so that you can listen to me for the next. So I went about, and that's called the mirror exercise, showed the mirror to everybody and saying, mirror, mirror on the wall, you're the ugliest of all. And that took a lot of courage to do. And I did that. I did that predominantly because I've been in HCL for all these years. I did that because I personally believed that this organization had everything which they needed to succeed, other than the fact they were not aligned correctly. So the mirror exercise, to cut the long story short, was very agonizing. I was called all kinds of names, which I'm still called. But I have teenagers, so I've been trained for it. And slowly the company started waking up to its irrelevance. So we stopped. We started throwing the dirty linen in public and saying, these are the broken things. That's the first thing. We did mirror, mirror on the wall. The second thing was defining an aspiration for future, which is so compelling that people will jump up from the bed and go for it. And I'm not going to go deep into what that aspiration was. But one of the big learning for me in that lesson was the fact that aspiration is never about the companies. So when you define an aspiration that we want to be a $100 billion company, we want to be number one, we want to break this market share, you want to do that, but what is in it for me? Somebody asked me a very interesting question this afternoon in terms of why do young people want to go out and do crazy things rather than join companies? It's because there is nothing for them in our companies. Our companies are dull, boring, stupid, dead, is the way they see it. Now, I don't know whether that's right or wrong. Right? I can't, you invited me, so I have to be nice to you. But if that's the way the employees see it, and you define a vision that will be number one in 10 years, or will be $40 billion, so the vision which we define, now let me take a minute to define. The vision I defined is by this question. I asked the 30,000 employees, and I used to meet them 5,000 at a time, is when somebody asks you, where do you work? What is your answer? And I give you 3 choices. Choice 1, Choice 2, I work for an IT services company. And choice 3 is HCL. Tell me honestly. 90% of them did. I said, my vision of HCL is, by the time we reach 2010, 90% of you, when somebody shakes hand, you will say HCL. And the response will be, wow, HCL. The reason I defined the vision, and that time people called me stupid, weak leader, without ideas, all that stuff. But the reason it was important to define a personalized vision is because the reason Gandhi succeeded because the vision was about freedom. And the vision about freedom was what would it mean to a citizen to be free? And he went at great lengths to explain that. And once people got that, what it would mean to be free, then they were unstoppable. So mirror, mirror, and then define a vision for tomorrow, which is very exciting and compelling for people to jump up from the bed and go and work for it. And the third step was series of experiments. There is no big idea. I don't believe in innovation. We will talk about innovation. I believe in series of experiments. I like a dog. When a dog has to search for a thief, what does he do? He smells the first step, then the next step, then the next step, then the next step. That's what innovation is all about. Series of experiments. Take a step at a time. Big, bold steps, but step at a time. And therefore, we did series of experiments to transform HCL. But before we go there, we asked ourselves a fundamental question on innovation, which is very interesting. So when you are on a burning platform and you have the company which is ready to transform, transform means change the form. So when you change the form, you must understand it is an irreversible process, and it's a painful process. So you should be very clear that you want to change the form. So when you want to change the form, you have two choices: to innovate on the what axis in terms of what you do, products, services, markets, pricing, proposition, positioning, or how you do it. So there is an interesting axis on culture. And the question I asked is, was there an opportunity for us to create a competitive advantage on the how axis, not on the what axis? Because the how axis was not occupied, and it could be created a competitive advantage because nobody was thinking about how axis. Can culture be a competitive advantage? When I looked at the Japanese car makers in the 80s, they took on the US car makers not on the what cars they manufactured, but how they manufactured. In IT services, can that be done? So we asked ourselves the fundamental questions. First, what is the core business we are in? To grow faster than our competition. Right? Profitability, shareholder returns. Okay. Second, how do we get to grow faster than our competition? Differentiated value, proposition for the customer to see us uniquely different compared to our competition. Clear. Third question, where does this competitive differentiator get created? Where is this competitive differentiation? In services economy, it is in the interface of our employees and our customers. Let's call that the value zone. The zone where our employees touch the customer employees. So far we concluded that the innovation, to grow faster than our competition, we have to differentiate in innovation, and that innovation is an experience we deliver where all technologies come together to solve business problem in the interface of our customers and our employees. Okay, that was easy. Fourth question. So if our employees are the differentiation which we are delivering to our customers, or the employees are the source of differentiation we're delivering to our customers, what should the business of managers and management be? And the answer was obvious: to enthuse, encourage, enable those employees to create the differentiated value so that the company can grow faster. Hence, employees first, customer second. Now, that was still easy. So we had taken a decision to innovate on the how axis, and we have come to a conclusion that this is a logical way to grow faster than our competition, which we do. We outgrew our competition 1:2 during that period. But the question is, how do you implement it? How do you make this possible? So we went through a 4-step process. Now, these 4 steps are hindsight processes. This is not the way it happened in foresight. Foresight, for every good thing I say, there were 100 mistakes. And if you're willing to give the wine, I will talk about the 100 things. So the first step there was creating trust. How do you create trust? Nobody trusted the management. Everything which I said was taken with a pinch of salt. So I said we will push the envelope of transparency to such an extent that it will shake the confidence of the employee that the management can do that. And there is no option the employees will have but to trust the management. So all the dirt of the company, I put it on a digital platform and shared with the company. This is broken, this is broken, this is broken, this is broken. And the reason I did that, number one, there was no gossip in the company anymore because everybody knew what's broken. Number two, my belief was if you know what is broken, somebody will fix it because I can't. So that was creating trust through transparency, and there was a series of experiments which we did to create trust. The second was make the enabling functions enable. Long ago, God created enabling functions because God created fear. So we were afraid that employees are going to run away with money, so we created finance, HR, quality control, all kinds of enabling functions, and suddenly the enabling functions don't enable anymore. They control. And I don't have a problem with control because that's the way the society has moved. But I have a problem with the fact that are you enabling or not? So again, we brought an innovation on opening trouble tickets. So any employee can open a trouble ticket on HR, on finance, on quality, on anybody, and they have to solve the problem in a certain period of time. But the innovation we brought in there, which was very interesting, is that I don't want the tickets to be there in the first instance. So I want you to get me a 0-day ticket. That means a day where there's no ticket. Today we are 90,000 employees. In the first week when we launched this, there were 70,000 tickets opened. And all my colleagues celebrated. We had a party. I was there. We celebrated that we have captured 70,000 tickets till one girl, 23 years old, told me, Vineet, you are stupid. And I said, I know, but tell me why. He says, in no other organization, a CEO celebrates 70,000 tickets. So anyway, we started celebrating 0 tickets. So that was the second. And the third, which was very interesting, invert the organization pyramid by making the management accountable to the employees. In 2005, 90 days after my taking over, I asked those 30,000 employees to do my appraisal, electronically, confidentially, with identity not disclosed. And the results of that was published for the employees to see. And I said, if my scores go below a certain thing, I'm gone. They didn't believe it's going to happen. I survived the first year. I did the second year. So the last time, 90,000 employees in 32 countries did my appraisal along with 6,500 other managers, their appraisal, and the results were published on the web. We really demonstrated that the management is in the business of enthusing, encouraging, enabling the employees to do it. Now, why do it? Because of the fourth factor. The fourth factor, which was the most important factor, is transfer the ownership of change to the employees. So what did we do? He says, dear friend, the management is in the business of enthusing, encouraging, enabling. You are in the business of performing. So tell me, why did the performance not happen? So B became a zero excuse culture and a high performance culture. So when the employee said the performance did not happen because of A, B, C, then the next question was, okay, did you ask your manager to deliver A, B, C to you? If you did not, you have to pay the consequences. If you did, then let's talk to the manager. So we did a lot of those things. We started measuring not satisfaction, passion, and there's a huge amount of initiative we took to transfer the ownership of change to the employees. Today we are experimenting with different organization structures, different experiments are going on in terms of how do we get the best out of human capital. But my summary of this argument is as follows. In the end, the how axis is a very exciting axis. Even if you innovate on the what axis like Gandhi did, unless you understand how to effectively execute on the how axis, especially if you have a global business, the higher chances of failure are pretty stark. And the only way you can do it is to think about your teenagers at home. Right? The way you grew up was command and control. Most of the time your parents said something, you would do it. At least that's the way it happened in India. Or maybe that's the way it was happening in Sweden a couple of generations ago. If you try and do that to teenagers today, you know what will happen to you. So that organization evolvement has to come back to the organization. You have to understand human capital. And only by understanding human capital, you'll get the best out of them. Last point. When a child is born in India, a grandmother is called to be the first one to pick the child. And the grandmother in most Indian household is called Amma. So Amma is called and she comes and picks up this child and defines a vision for the child and saying, your forehead is very long and therefore you'll be a NASA scientist, your eyes are big and you'll be a dancer, your fingers are so long and you'll be a painter, your legs are long and you'll be an athlete. She defines a vision. No data, no reason, no background. She defines a vision. Every single family person around the amma believes in that vision. Nobody asks the question. The child is reminded every day of the vision amma defined for the child. Slowly, the child starts believing in that vision. In that whole act, you will understand the middle class India, why they have hope. Because these are the ceremonies, these are the stories based on which you may not have food on the table, you may not have education, you may not have electricity, but you have hope. And the hope is based on no data. So think about your leadership styles. Why do you have to depend so much on data? Why do you have to depend so much on proof? Why can't you define a grandmother vision for your people? Why would they believe the grandmother and they will not believe you? That question, my friend, is the answer to great growth. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for these inspiring exactly 70 minutes. Maybe you said it both implicit and explicit, but still, what is the first step you need, sitting here being an inspired leader now from you, what is the first step you need to take as a leader to be able to put your employees first and customers second?
I think the first step you have to take is understand and recognize your incompetence. And explain to yourself that you really don't have all elements in control. So when your teenager is sitting on the dining table with you, you want them to do something. Do you tell them? You don't. You somehow convince them by coming through hallway, but it is a conversation. So the first step on employee first, customer second is to understand you have lost your chair. You have lost your command and control capability. And therefore, you are no more in command. Once you understand you are no more in command, you become a leader, not a manager. Because manager is in the business of counting value. Leader is in the business of helping people create value.
Good. Oh, well, yes. Oh. Sorry. Yes. And you have been talking about this and writing about this and practicing this. What's the main obstacle for us as leaders to do this, to tell ourselves that we are not in control? What's the obstacle that we need to manage?
I think that's a great question. Leaders are amongst the smartest people in the world. We have too many success stories on the what axis, the Google, the Facebook, everybody wants to do that. And therefore, all our middle management, all our boards and management are obsessed about this what axis. We need more celebration and more success stories on the how axis. When leaders spot this happening, for example, when I wrote my book, Employee First, Customer Second, I thought there would be 5,000 copies bought by all my competition. It was 100,000 copies bought, and it was in France, it was in Sweden, it was in Germany, and I was wondering why. The reason is because smart leaders are searching for experiments and ideas which they can implement. So we need to celebrate enough ideas which are on the how axis, and if that happens, I think more and more leaders will accept it. It's just the fact that not enough has been said on that how axis, and if it is, then it will get adopted pretty quickly.
Yeah. The last question. What's your personal commitment? So everybody has been given a personal commitment.
Yeah, so January of 2013, I quit my job. And I decided...
Due to the employees, what they said about you?
No.
Uh-huh.
I had found a foundation in 2000. I didn't quit my job. I'm still the vice chairman. I quit the CEO job. And I decided that I will, what I did for 100,000, 90,000 HCL employees, do for 1 million Indians. So I have dedicated my life going forward to for large-scale social change. So for example, we've taken over 250,000 children of the state of Punjab and transforming the way education is delivered to them, and I'm personally there. So it's not just about the money. I'm personally committed to making a change. So my commitment to you is when you speak to me 3 years from now, 250,000 children of Punjab and a total 1 million people would have smiled who would have not smiled before.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.